Rare postseason meeting between the Pac-12 and the SEC. Welcome to the Voice of College Football. We break down the game we all love each and every day with you. Best discussion, debate, and analysis. And on to the Vegas Bowl and one of the early postseason matchups that involve two power conferences. Oregon State had a fine season at 9-3. They lost all those games in the Pac-12. Florida, of course, had a date with the Pac-12 and actually took out eventual Pac-12 champion Utah in Gainesville on a late Cam Rising interception, but the Gators finished at just 3-5 in the SEC and 6-6 overall. The Beavers are a 7.5-point favorite in this game against Florida. The last time Oregon State took on an SEC foe, coached by Nick Saban, not Alabama, LSU in 2004, and the Beavs came close to upsetting LSU in the opener of 2004, 22-21. And the Gators' last matchup with the Pac-12, of course, the aforementioned opener against Utah. The all-time histories and bowl records for these two programs, not really comparable. Of course, Florida, one of the top 10 to 15 programs in all-time college football, 25-22 in postseason play. Oregon State's only played in 16 bowl games. They're 9-7. Florida has won 3 national championships, the most recent under Urban Meyer in 2006 and 8. Steve Spurrier in 1996 as well. Oregon State appearing in bowl play for the first time in almost a decade. First round picks all time. Get this. Florida 57, Oregon State 6. But the Beavers a better team, at least record-wise, and according to Vegas in this matchup. Chance Nolan's been the Oregon State quarterback for the last couple of years, but he threw 4 picks against Utah, 4 picks against USC, and lost his job. He's in the transfer portal. Ben Goldbrinson, after Chance Nolan was shaken up against Utah, took over, and he's performed admirably, although it's still a run-driven offense for Oregon State, to the point that in their 18-point comeback against their rival, the Oregon Ducks, Oregon State ran the ball at one point in a comeback 19 consecutive times. They love to run the football, and they do it rather well. You've got Damian Martinez and Deshaun Fenwick, former SEC player at South Carolina, going up against this Gators defense. Trayshawn Harrison, the top receiver, 52 catches, 4 touchdowns. The offensive line, stellar, as you would expect, with that type of rushing attack. The Florida defense has been up and down all season, mostly down, aside from an effort in which they held South Carolina and Spencer Rattler to just 6 points, and that wasn't even scored by the offense. The Gator defense has been pretty deplorable this season, despite some individual standouts. They're number 103 in the nation in total defense. Ventrell Miller can play, though, at linebacker. Rashard Lawrence is a top defensive back, as well as Trey Dean and Amari Burney at linebacker / edge rusher. The big wild card in this matchup is the quarterback position at Florida. Jalen Kitna gets the start. It was just announced on Monday that Anthony Richardson, he went to Twitter to announce that he is foregoing the bowl game and the rest of his collegiate eligibility to enter the NFL draft. Well, we considered Anthony Richardson himself to be a wild card, depending on the week. When he was left to his own devices and to play sandlot football, he could be rather dangerous as a running back who could throw rather than a quarterback from the pocket. Now we got Jalen Kitna, who has thrown all of 14 passes, most of those in meaningless mop-up duty against Eastern Washington. But Jalen Kitna would apparently be the starting quarterback in this matchup for the Gators against Oregon State. So it's his first audition on the field against a live opponent and certainly a top 25 defense to put in his bid as being the starting quarterback for Florida in 2023, although I would think Billy Napier and the Gators will be looking for an addition in the transfer portal. The wide receiver position is depleted for Florida. They missed 5 players due to injuries and opt-outs and transfers against Florida State. Justin Shorter is off to the NFL. Montrell Johnson, Trevor Etienne form one of the better unknown backfield tandems in all of college football. Florida ranks 16th in the nation in rushing yards per game, number 3 in yards per play rushing. They can run it down your throat, so Oregon State's defense and front 7 is going to have to be stout. Oregon State's defense was stout against USC, and Oregon in particular also played a good game against Washington, especially in the red zone. They gave up a ton of yards to Michael Penix and company, but held Washington to just 24 points. Their worst effort on the scoreboard was against Utah, giving up 42 points. But again, that was mostly the offense throwing 4 interceptions because Utah didn't really put up too much offensively. The Beavs' defense is under-regarded, definitely. Jack Colletto's an interesting player. Plays linebacker and running back. He's scored 6 touchdowns on offense, and he's got 23 tackles on defense. Look out for him. You got Omar Spates with 77 tackles. Kyrie Fisher with 66 tackles, 5.5 for losses. Jaden Grant leads the team with 3 picks and 60 tackles. It's Oregon State, it's Florida, Gators and Beavs, rare SEC Pac-12 matchup in Vegas. Should be an interesting matchup, and the Beavs are a 7.5 point favorite at 9-3 and could complete a first 10-win season since going way back. We'll have to look that one up, either under Mike Riley. I think his best season was 9-4, actually. We could need to go back to Dennis Erickson and those great teams that went to the Fiesta Bowl and trashed the likes of Notre Dame. All right, comments down below on what you would like to see between Florida and Oregon State. Who's going to win this matchup right here at the Voice of College Football.